What's happening, y'all? Welcome inside the Fantasy Stock Exchange. Danny and Bush coming at you with a 2021 fantasy football mock draft. If you guys missed the announcement the other day, we have officially partnered with Underdog Fantasy this upcoming summer. They're sponsoring our season-long draft guide, and now when you sign up with promo code FSE and deposit a minimum of $10, you'll get a $25 bonus to play with. Both of our draft guides, our Dynasty guide, which is live right now, and our season-long guide, which will be live July 15th. Plenty of awesome features and contests where you can draft with us all summer long. And you can even use that $25 bonus to enter their Best Ball Mania 2 contest, where the winner will receive $1,001. And speaking of the Best Ball Mania contest, that's what we're going to be attacking today.
Yeah, I mean, we got the Best Ball Mania contest on docket for today. If you guys are new to the channel, you haven't seen it already, we like doing mock drafts with our subscribers. And this is a new platform that we could do with you guys. We could do private mock drafts. The theme of today's video is going to be that Best Ball Mania contest, but we're planning every single Friday. We're going to have an Underdog themed content on the video, or on the channel, sorry. So if you guys enjoy content like this, you want to see more, make sure you go hit that big subscribe button down below. Anyways, with that being said, going to hit the intro on y'all and get into this mock.
All right, so the draft is starting. It looks like we have the 10th pick, and we actually had some breaking news on the Underdog front. Apparently that Pennsylvania is now able to do Underdog drafts. I saw that on Twitter today.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys are in Pennsylvania, you already know the deal. Use our code and get that matchback and both draft guides. So that being said, we do see McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook both go off the board already, and we're third on the clock here.
I feel like every Underdog draft I've done so far, I always am picking between 8 and 11, like every single time. I think I've done like 3 or 4 of these now, and I've picked like 8, 9, 10, 11.
Hey, what about the one we did together that we realized was a slow draft and I got the first pick?
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I did one last night too.
Yeah,
but I'm just gonna briefly say, just talking about strategy in this thing again, because this is the Best Ball Mania mock draft or Best Ball draft. And what you want to do in these type of situations where you're playing against 150,000 plus people, sorry, my mic's over here. When you're playing against 150,000 plus people, is you want to make sure your lineup has the highest ceiling possible. You don't care if you end up finishing last. You want to make sure that no matter what, your ceiling on any given week is as high as it can be. So that's why in these type of formats that's where you want to target these stacks. That's where you want to target players that maybe are more volatile than you usually would in a season long. By getting those players that can have that 35, 40-point week, it's going to help you really get over the top in these formats.
Right. And I think a big part of that too is not relying on ADP too much. Like, you obviously don't want to reach 5 rounds on players, but if you have a conviction about a player, you think he has, league winning type ceiling, and he's a 7th round player and you're picking at the back of the sixth round or whatever, and the guy normally goes mid 7th round or something like that, just reach on the guy that you think has that kind of ceiling. And another thing too is that in this format, people tend to pick a bunch of handcuffs thinking that that's how they're going to win. I'm telling you right now, that's not what Danny means when he says like a league winning type pick. What you want to be picking is guys that have high ceilings but are not necessarily handcuff type players, because in the early rounds, your strategy really shouldn't change outside of, picking more higher upside player. Like if you're caught between J.K. Dobbins and Austin Ekeler and you think Dobbins is a higher ceiling, pick Dobbins. But in the early rounds, your strategy shouldn't change all that much. In the later rounds, it's more about picking guys that you think have that kind of ceiling where they can get really high up. So we're on the board right now. And speaking of ceiling, normally I'd pick someone like Nick Chubb here, but I don't think Nick Chubb has, the elite ceiling that we're looking for. So I vote Cam Akers here as the pick.
No, I fully agree. I feel torn that Ezekiel Elliott was sniped right before us, because I do think he's going to have a top 5 season yet again. Call it bias, Cowboys bias, I don't care. Ezekiel Elliott's ready, and got sniped the pick before, but Cam Akers is absolutely a fantastic consolation prize. We already know how good and talented he is. He got the workload at the end of the season, and if we're projecting that Rams offense into that fringe top 5 range, that's going to mean a lot of opportunity for Cam Akers to be putting up some fantasy points.
Right. And I think with Cam Akers, I'm going to go over in our draft guide and probably in a video at some point. I'm going to go over what makes like a top 5 ceiling running back, or what makes the guy that could finish as the RB1. And I can already tell you just by a cursory look, when you look at the coaching tendencies of the Rams, when you look at Cam Akers as a player, when you look at his usage down the stretch, he's going to be the type of guy that legitimately has RB1 type of ceiling because of the extreme touchdown upside. And I'll take Nick Chubb here.
Check tight end quick. I just want to see if Kelsey's there.
No, he got picked already.
I got picked. Okay, yeah, I'm fine with Chubb.
I'm fine with Chubb here. And I think stacking those two guys, like I said, just because I didn't want to pick Nick Chubb in the first round doesn't mean he still doesn't have a pretty good ceiling. And with those two guys as my running backs, like I know I have two guys that have top 5 ceilings at least. Cam Akers maybe like RB1 type ceiling. Nick Chubb probably doesn't have that kind of potential, but both of these guys are going to be heavily involved on the goal line. They should be, moderately involved in the passing game, and they're going to be the feature ball carriers for each of their respective offenses, both offenses, which I expect to be top 10 units.
I fully agree. And you know what's even the best benefit of taking Akers that we didn't even recognize when we did it? That opens us up to the freaking Ram stack, baby. Stafford later on, Wood/Cup in the mid rounds. Oh man, I am hyped. Higbee later on. You guys are gonna see. It's gonna be fun.
And another part too about ceiling is look at the offenses that you're investing in this best ball mania. Like if you think 4 or 5 offenses in the league have a potential to be the number 1 offense, go out and target those teams. Because sure, you might think a guy like Najee Harris, who just went off the board, is going to get a lot of volume or something like that. But I don't feel comfortable investing in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense to the extent that I'm probably going to have to if I wanted to win this best ball mania tournament. Because in order for Najee Harris to become a league winner, or some of the other pieces in that offense, they'll probably have to be a top 10 unit. I have questions about that. And I think when you look at other teams too, like the Philadelphia Eagles, like investing in Miles Sanders, or even the Bears with David Montgomery, those teams, those guys should be solid RB2s, maybe even RB1s. But the problem with those offenses is that you're probably not going to get the touchdown output. You're probably not going to get the overall offensive scoring that you're going to need in a format like this to win the championship.
Absolutely. And can we just preface right now by saying that Antonio Gibson here at the 209 is just probably the best value so far in this entire draft?
Yeah, Talk about a guy with RB1 ceiling, man. I'm literally going to write an article probably sometime next week for the Fantasy Scouts talking about why I think Antonio Gibson is the next Christian McCaffrey. Yeah,
and that just goes to show. And I'll tell you guys right now, we already sat down, we already planned out our summer, and there's going to be a lot of talking about these second-year type players. So buckle up, put those seatbelts on, because it's going to be exciting. But Antonio Gibson I'm all in on him. He's going to be a top 10 redraft running back for me. Getting him here at the end of the second round. Oh my, dude! If this guy ends up with Christian McCaffrey and then Washington McCaffrey, then I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah, that'd be definitely a nice stack to have. I think the big thing with Gibson too, right, is that, and I think with all these second-year players, we saw a lot of these guys perform in their rookie seasons despite the circumstances that they were dealing with, right? A lot of these guys, they didn't have offseason, especially Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson got COVID during training camp, so he didn't even have a training camp, let alone OTAs, mini camps, and some of the stuff that we're getting right now. So I think you're going to see a lot more, and I tweeted this out the other day, of bounce back rookies from last year, maybe that had down seasons in their rookie season. Jerry Jeudy being a prime example. I think he's a guy that could come out and be exactly what I thought he was going to be last year, which is the offensive rookie of the year type player that I think he can be. And I think you're going to see a lot more of these obscure guys. Everybody knows how much I love Henry Ruggs. I could see him coming out and having a big year in his second year. Even guys that we're maybe a little sour on right now, even Jalen Reagor or something like that, even Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Zach Moss or something like that. Some of these guys that had very down rookie seasons, I could see having big years in their second year.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And it seems like every 8th round, I'm getting Jerry Jeudy in the mock drafts I'm doing right now. But just prefacing this draft, we did, in fact, see Antonio Gibson fall to the Christian McCaffrey owner. And that is going to be a scary duo for him.
Right, and he could stack it with George Kittle right now if he wanted to.
Kittle's off the board.
Oh, he is. Never mind.
That's still fantastic.
God, he stacked it with Swift, though, too. And so Swift is a prime example, though, of a guy that I'm a little bit more wary of in this format, because I expect the Lions to have probably a top 5 to 8 pick in the NFL draft at minimum, if not top 3 pick. So with DeAndre Swift, you basically got to hope that he sees that workhorse type of volume. And we already have Anthony Lynn coming out and talking about Jamal Williams as an A-type back. And while I don't necessarily believe him, I'm not avoiding Swift for that reason. I do think it's a concern knowing that Jamal Williams is probably going to be pretty involved. And if there's any kind of timeshare in this situation, it might not work out too well for Swift because we're already talking about an offense that probably won't score a whole lot, probably won't be, top 10 in the league like some of these other running backs that are going around Swift.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely fair. However, I still have optimism because in terms of receiving potential, we could be seeing a situation where Anthony Lynn views him as his Austin Ekeler. Anthony Lynn can say, oh, yeah, this is going to be a prime receiving threat for us. This guy, I trust in having 90, 95, 100 targets. And if that's the case, regardless, even if he's not getting that first and second down type true role, this is still going to be a guy who gives you top 5 type ceiling because of that passing production.
Right. And I think the ceiling's there, but only in that kind of case, right? And that's hard to project. An Austin Ekeler role is like an over 100 target role for a running back, which is difficult to project. And I think I'm a little bit more comfortable with Swift in the 3rd round than I am in the 2nd round, just because of those concerns that I kind of just outlined. But we're almost up on the clock here. It looks like we're seeing a run.
Is Dobbins going to follow us? Is Dobbins going to follow us?
Who?
Is Dobbins going to follow us?
Yeah.
Please.
So we have J.K. Dobbins, definitely the top target here, and you can set a queue on here so that if you miss your pick, it'll auto pick you someone that you want. We also have some wide receivers here on the board that I really like, especially ceiling wise, guys like Amari Cooper and Mike Evans. Mike Evans just went, but yeah, to me, this is J.K. Dobbins easily. This pick is a smash.
Go.
Again, a lot of people are off J.K. Dobbins, and I think this is going to be a common trend, man. I think people are going to not take this guy until the 3rd round, and I'm gladly okay with that because J.K. Dobbins, to me, this is his floor. 310, you're talking about a guy that probably went off the board as the running back, 15 or something like that. And we saw him finish kind of as that type of player this past year, just on the back of touchdowns and efficiency. So at wide receiver here, do we want to look at wide receiver? I think that's probably the best place to go.
What I'm thinking here is either Julio or Godwin and try to get Kupp on the way back.
I think Godwin has the higher ceiling than Julio, and I honestly, I'm a little bit more concerned than a lot of people are about Julio Jones because, we always talk about our philosophies, right? And a big philosophy for us last year was not drafting older players coming off of injury, and we talked about it ad nauseum with AJ Green and Todd Gurley and T.Y. Hilton and some of these other players. And while Julio Jones has had a longer, more sustained peak than those guys, it's still a concern, right? It's still a philosophy of mine that I don't like investing in older players when they've been banged up. And it worked out for Adam Thielen last year, but Adam Thielen needed, 14 touchdowns to be the type of fantasy asset that he was. And we all know that Julio Jones has never been that guy. So I could see a lot of people being disappointed by Julio Jones if they are expecting, the same old Julio Jones top 3 receiver.
And now the thing that I still have pause about before just citing that, though, is the fact that we have still seen when Julio Jones was on the field, even last year, he was a very productive receiver. And over his last 16 games played, he's on a pace of 100 catches, 1,400 yards. So we haven't really seen that downtick in play, which is still
see here's the thing about that, though, is that I want to hear, Matt Harmon's reception perception, some of the advanced metrics, because that was the case with AJ Green a couple of years ago. Remember, AJ Green had a season where when he was on the field, I think if you paste his numbers out, and that was the big argument for him, he was the wide receiver 5 or something. So if that's the case with Julio Jones and we see Matt Harmon or something come out and be like, yeah, you know what, Julio Jones struggled against man coverage last year or whatever the case is, then I'm going to have even more pause about Julio Jones. And then he might be a legitimate bust candidate for me because as long as we didn't see that downtick in play, which I didn't see it on the field, but I wasn't paying, close attention to Julio Jones on every single play. So maybe I'd have to go back and watch the guy.
He was still phenomenal according to these metrics. So yards per reception, 21st, whatever. He got a lot of volume. Yards per target, 11.3, which is 3rd. Yards per route run, 2.7, 3rd. I mean, he was still really good in the metrics
what was
that
he
really
in
matter.
Terms of separation and some of the other stuff down there?
26th in separation, but he hasn't really been a true
separator. That's a fine number for him. I don't expect him to be top 5.
All right, talking about this draft real quick. If we can get Cooper Kupp to follow us on the way back, and we can end up filling that Ram stack, and then also potentially try to fill the Buck stack if we can get Brady, Fournette, or Jones, and then maybe a Gronk later rounds, we could have 2 high-level stacks on some of the top offenses in the league if that happens.
Right. And I'm hoping that we get a good, picking of receivers here because this is a 3 wide receiver league. And I would say as a general philosophy, the way I look at this, I don't have any metrics or anything to back this up, but the best way probably to win this Best Ball Mania contest is to hit on late round wide receivers that have real upside, right? Because if you got, Cortland Sutton a couple of years ago in one of these drafts. He was probably a big time value return, and that'll probably come, between rounds 6 to 10, 6 to 11, maybe, with guys like Jerry Jeudy, as we mentioned, maybe a couple rookies here and there. And those are really going to be where you make up the gap between wide receivers, because we all know like this rounds 2 to 5 of the wide receivers there's so many guys to choose from, right? You got the Ridleys and the Robinsons, and like all these guys are all, very good fantasy assets. But the problem is you're missing out on secure running backs at that point. And running backs are much, much harder to hit on later in the draft than some of these wide receivers. Like we've seen in past years, some of these guys emerging, like a Terry McLaurin his rookie year or something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Dang. We do see Cooper Kupp go off the board there.
Yeah.
That's pain. I mean, if we could still get Stafford and Higbee, we could still run it. But
Galladay's a guy that I'm quite interested in, just because, again, the ceiling aspect. We've seen Galladay last time he was on the field finish, with 10 touchdowns, led the NFL that year, and was a top, 6 or 7 receiver. I think a lot of people, I'm not saying he's this year's Stephon Diggs, because I don't think he's as talented as Stephon Diggs, nor do I think Daniel Jones has quite the potential that Josh Allen had. But could I see a B-Tech version of that in New York, where we see Daniel Jones take, a pretty decent sized step forward, now having a number 1 receiver, and they also, added Kadarius Toney, and their offensive line got healthier, so they're coming back from the opt-out. They're rookies, going into their second year. So I could see a situation where Kenny Golladay is a big time, guy that returns value this year, because like we're at the 5-10 and we might get him here. So like that's a point where we were looking at with Stephon Diggs last year, a situation where Galladay's also not been a big time target hog either in his career.
Yeah, it's definitely fair. Here, check the Arby's tight ends quarterbacks. I just kind of want to see the other landscape of the board. So we still have Dak on the board, but that's not worried. But again, we can target the Brady, we can target the Stafford later on, because we do have pieces in that offense. In terms of tight end, what's it looking at, Blake? Just highlight only tight end. You're good.
So we have Mark Andrews on the board right now. Kyle Pitts is a guy that'll probably go off soon, given the format of this league. You gotta shoot for ceiling. Kyle Pitts definitely has the type of ceiling to do well. TJ Hawkinson is a guy I'm kind of interested in, and if he's there in our second pick, or if we can get him on the way back. I doubt we're going to be able to get him on the way back, but the more and more I look at that situation, man, again, as much as the Detroit Lions are going to be probably not that high of a scoring offense, like TJ Hawkinson could legitimately get 130 targets.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with that.
So ETN goes off the board here. See, Galladay sticks out to me as a guy that I want to, take here, because I think the upside swing's probably pretty fair. I also don't hate Dak Prescott at this point in the draft. I vote for Galladay. I think Galladay has the most upside out of these guys.
I'm fine with going Galladay here. And what we can basically do, again, we got 2 kind of boom bust type receivers right now with Godwin and Galladay.
Right.
Check the receivers again, because I'm thinking of maybe even pairing one on the way back, and hopefully I can get one.
I like Ayuk and Claypool. I really like there.
And Sutton.
Yeah, Sutton. I mean, again, but with the Denver offense, I don't know if I want to invest in that offense, because I could see a very similar finish to what Sutton did the last time he was healthy, which was 1150 and 6 touchdowns or whatever. And that's fine for your wide receiver 3, but in this kind of format, I think Chase Claypool has extreme upside, 1,400, 10 touchdown type upside.
Oh, I agree. All right, check our running backs again real quick. Sorry. I just want to get a look at what we're looking at. So the running backs are kind of getting bleak. I mean, we could get Damian Harris on the next round, so we can.
I hope Damian Harris is there on the way back, because I think with Trey Sermon, if someone's going to reach on him, expecting him to be, an upside swing. On our team right now, we have 3 elite running backs. So I'm not worried really at all about that position for a couple rounds.
Yeah, I'm fine. Even T. Higgins intrigues me.
I'm caught between Ayuk and Claypool. I'll let you make the final call here.
I'll go Claypool out of those 2. I was even looking at Higgins, because I think they're going to throw the ball literally 38 and 39 times a game too.
For sure, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And see, with Claypool, again, I don't feel overly comfortable investing in Ben Roethlisberger, but at the same time, this is the 6th round, and usually at this point in the draft, you're looking for guys that have that kind of ceiling, because, once you get outside the 8th, 9th round, it's really hard to predict those type of players. And I think Chase Claypool has proven the ceiling on a given week. now going into his second year, I think he can establish himself more. And especially if any injuries happen in that wide receiver core, which it stayed very healthy last year, we could see a situation where, if Deontay Johnson or Juju Smith-Schuster missed any significant time, those other two guys are going to see a major, major upgrade from a target perspective. And that's really all Claypool needs is more targets.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're looking actually at the second half split of his season, you're looking at a guy who from week 8 on, 9 targets, 13, 10, 8, 9, 4, 6, 8, 6, 11 to finish that season. We saw, well, again, like the efficiency wasn't really there at the second half of the season because Big Ben just completely forgot how to throw a football. That's encouraging. We saw his overall trajectory in the offense really be used as a key cog in terms of moving the ball for them. So overall, I mean, you're talking about a 22-year-old kid who was quote unquote raw coming into the season and yet still produced a near 900-yard, 9 touchdown season. I have all the confidence. I think Chase Claypool is going to break out this year, and you guys are going to see a bunch of content surrounding these guys. But I can tell you right now, Chase Claypool is going to have a nice little video for him.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. And Ayuk is a guy that I also think that has that kind of ceiling. Yeah. The only issue with Ayuk, obviously, is the fact that we saw Ayuk produce, very well down the stretch. But the problem is that he did that without Deebo Samuel on the field. He did that without George Kittle on the field. We got to wonder, how is Ayuk's role going to change, if at all, going into his second season if those guys are, healthy this year?
Yep, no, I absolutely agree. So overall, right now, through 6 rounds, we do have those 3 locked-in workhorse running backs and 3 really good upside receivers. So I'm confident with where we're at. On the 7th, 8th round, if we could pair up, let's say, I don't know, Damon Harris and whatever else can fall
on the board right now.
Honestly, because we have the Godwin, I don't hate if we ended up going with the Leonard Fournette on the way back as well, because then we can get Brady to the next round and then we have a stack.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I would still take Rojo.
That's fine too. I'm just saying because it's more of a PPR format that we could have the reception upside between Brady and him, but Rojo and him are basically identical for me.
Is it full PPR?
Is it full or half? Oh, it's half. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, so don't do what we did. Actually, look at the rules before you start drafting. But either way, I think in a half PPR format, best ball is the perfect place to be drafting the 2 Tampa Bay running backs, because I do think it's going to be an inconsistent, workload week over week. I think it's going to be inconsistent who goes off one week and who, gets benched for missing a blitz pickup the next week. So it's going to be a bumpy ride if you own either of them in redraft. But do not draft both of these guys thinking you're just going to lock down the Tampa Bay backfield, because that's going to be a big, big time headache for you. So yeah. I would just tell you, if you don't want to draft the Tampa Bay running backs, anything past the 7th, 8th round where they're going right now, just take one of them in a best ball league and, hope you got the guy that emerges as the more valuable running back and has maybe the bigger upside weeks.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. So overall, kind of looking at the board. No Fant still available by chance?
I can check right now. He is still available.
Might have to lock him up on the turn because the running back or tight ends are going to look bleak. I don't even mind if we go with Fant, and then on the way back, if we just took straight Stafford and Higbee.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think you mean on the way back in the next round?
Yeah. So we take Harris and Fant here, and on the way back, if Higbee and Matt Stafford were to fall, we could just lock both those guys up.
Yeah, I mean, I really like these wide receivers on the board also.
Yeah.
That's my only concern right now is I think Harris is a clear tier break at running back right now. So he's the guy I would go with at our first pick. But after that, I really like the prospect of grabbing I was going to say Robbie Anderson. He just went off the board, but Will Fuller or Devontae Smith and Jerry Jeudy. Those guys are just all trickling off the board as I'm talking about this. So we'll have to see. And Juju goes, okay, so I wasn't going to take Juju, but okay, maybe it's a little bit more bleak now than it was before. I was really eyeing one of these 3 guys, Anderson, Jeudy, or Fuller, with that next pick. But yeah, see, Harris to me is the clear pick for me.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to pick Jalen Hurts. So.
Yeah, we're good. I do think you guys probably have already seen my dynasty buys and sells video. I do think that Jalen Hurts has decent upside, decent ceiling in a redraft format. But the people that are spending dynasty picks on this guy, it just makes no sense. the Eagles have quite literally no commitment to him past this year. So if you guys want more information on that, obviously you can watch the video. But I don't know. People want to push him up with that top 6 tier, and it just doesn't really make sense to me. We could get Stafford here too.
Yeah, we could get Stafford here. That makes a lot of sense, especially, we'll have the touchdown scores for the Rams kind of locked up. But trying to look around the other positions, like
Nothing really sticks out.
To me, Fant kind of sticks out as a tight end tier break for me, especially when you're looking at, ceiling of a player, because while Fant doesn't have the offense ceiling that, someone higher like Mark Andrews might have, he has the talent ceiling and the big play ceiling that would really, really make him appealing in this kind of format.
No, I mean, yeah, to be fair, if we had
Stafford just went, unfortunately.
So yeah, take Fant here, and then hopefully again, like what are your thoughts on stacking 2 tight ends within the first couple of rounds? I do think if Stafford and Higbee make it back, we might have to.
Gone.
Or sorry, oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, I was thinking Brady.
Yeah, I mean, Brady's a guy that I'm definitely willing to target with our next pick because, man, Brady is like the reason we like rushing quarterbacks so much, right, is because they have the floor week over week that provide you, some stability in case, if Kyler Murray has a down passing game, let's say he throws 0 passing touchdowns, he's probably still going to score like 18 to 22 fantasy points because of the rushing ability. But in a best ball format, you don't have to worry about that with Tom Brady. And I would expect, more often than not, Brady's going to throw 2 or 3 touchdowns a game. Yeah. Because, I expect him to, he had 40 touchdowns last year. I expect him to have probably about that again, if not more.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. The one that I'm scared about taking Brady before us is I do think the guy who owns Mike Evans picks before us.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. He could definitely look to stack those players. I think when you look at our roster overall, we got, 3 just phenomenal upside, great workload type running backs. And then we also have Damian Harris, who's got a good workload, maybe not the highest upside player, but I also could see a situation where if Mac Jones comes in and starts pretty early in his career and he's able to move that offense, even if he's just like a Derek Carr level quarterback to start his career, I think Damian Harris could be what Josh Jacobs is. And he's the main touchdown scorer on the Raiders and gets all that goal line work and is able to, carve out a 15 to 20 carry type role, which is what I expected of Damian Harris. And again, I went in depth on Damian Harris in my best or my risers and fallers video.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I'm just praying Brady somehow gets back to us, but looking at how everything's kind of set up, I doubt it at this point. Man, that'd be a huge hit. Oof. Yeah. Dude, even if we got him and Rojo on the way back, because Rojo's still on the board.
Yeah. I'd have to see the problem though is that if we take a quarterback and a running back, like this is a 3 wide receiver league, right? And we only have 3 wide receivers on our team.
That's fair.
And the position will get pretty bleak pretty quick because, and everybody kind of probably knows this by now, once running backs dry up, everyone just immediately goes to wide receivers. Like that's where their mind goes to. So they just kind of stack them up and they just keep taking wide receivers. And you might be looking at the board, especially where we're picking near a turn. So we might be looking at a board and be like, okay, yeah, we can afford to take, another quarterback and a tight end here. And by the time the receivers get back to us, we're looking at freaking Devontae Parker and Corey Davis as our next best option. And those guys are fine, I guess. But Devontae Smith being on the board still to me is a huge, huge tier break. And I really want him to fall to us. Same with Laviska Shenault as well and Pittman.
What are your thoughts if both Brady and Antonio Brown make it back? Like say Devonta's gone.
Antonio Brown's interesting, but I think he's a guy that a lot of people just don't draft. Like I've noticed, I think I got him in like the 11th round, 12th round of like both of the drafts that I did yesterday. So I'm almost okay waiting to see if he gets back to us after our 2 turn picks here.
Okay, we gotta hope, because that would be disgusting if we were able to lock down Brady, Godwin, and Brown, and then maybe get Gronk later on as well.
Right? Yeah, they definitely would stack up some of those. Damn it, Devontae Smith would just go right there. That's awesome. And there goes Shenault. Here comes all the receivers are going to get ripped off the board right before our pick. I guarantee it. See, Marquise Brown in this format too is actually not a bad pick because I think Marquise Brown, I don't know if I'd pick him that early, but Marquise Brown is a guy that is going to have best ball appeal, and our receivers are just getting destroyed right now.
I mean, it's looking like we might have to take Brown on this turn because at this rate, it looks like nobody's making it back.
Yeah. With Hollywood though, you get a guy that's going to have spike weeks, and I think the presence of Rashad Bateman, the ability that our Greg Roman has shown to adapt his offense, if they're going to go to a more pass heavy approach, and when I say pass heavy, I mean like 500 pass attempts, probably like bottom 5 still in the NFL, but more pass heavy than the like historically low pass attempts that they've been the past couple of years. You can see a situation where Marquise Brown has a lot more spike weeks than he did last year, and Tom Brady gets absolutely sniped right off the board right before we're about to pick.
Oh
So
man, that's brutal.
yeah,
Gus Bus, maybe? No, we have running backs.
I'm cool going Antonio here.
Yeah, let's cuck him. Go Antonio. Set the tone.
Yeah, even though we don't have Brady, I'm cool with that. So we are going to need a quarterback at some point. And the guys on the board right now,
like Tannehill.
I mean, Tannehill's probably the best option right now. I think
like if we go Tannehill, we could probably later on get like a cheap Reynolds and Ferkser, and at least we'll have like 2 of the top 3 targets in the passing game. And that should be a cheap stack to complete. It's just, man, I would have wanted that Brady.
Yeah, that Brady hurts, man. I wanted that pick for sure.
Yeah. Damn, like why did he take Jalen Hurts 2 rounds ago if his plan was always just going to stack Brady?
Yeah, I'm not sure. The running back position is just looking really bleak to me. I don't even think we really need to address it much more than we already do. I've seen I don't remember who tweeted this out last year, but it was like a best ball, stack of their players, like who they had, and they only had like 3 or 4 running backs on their entire team. And to me, that makes a lot of sense because a lot of your production is going to come from your top guys anyway. It's almost wasting picks at this point in the draft. I like Corey Davis as a guy with upside.
I was just about to throw his name, and we could complete that jet stack later.
Right. Yeah. I think the quarterbacks to me, it's just not worth taking any of these guys right now. I think we can get, if we want to go for an upside swing, I mean, Trey Lance just went off the board, but we could get a guy like Justin Fields probably with our next pick, I would imagine. And if we wanted to go for another, cheap stack, we have Baker on the board. We could lock up the Browns touchdown scores with Baker and Nick Chubb. I know they're not necessarily going to throw to each other. They're going to go to each other very often because Chubb isn't the greatest in the passing game, but I still like a lot of the later options at quarterback in this draft. And Sam Darnold to me is a guy that I really want to target for the upside swing, because if Sam Darnold comes out and plays like Ryan Tannehill did once he left Adam Gase, then we could have a situation where our quarterback 2 or 3 is playing like a QB1.
The only argument I would have is at that current rate, he's just a spot ahead of Zach Wilson. Sorry. And if it comes down to it, I would rather prefer Wilson because we have Davis. But aside from that, I mean, I agree with the preface.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at tight end too, seeing what else. We got Irv Smith on the board. We know how much. I mean, we've already sung his praises, and it's only May, but obviously he literally was picked as I said that. So we'll have to see who do we have left at tight end, because as much as I believe in Fan, I do think we need a pretty decent second option just behind him.
What about Ferkser and Tannehill?
Is Tannehill still on the board? Oh, he is still on the board. If Tannehill and Ferkser are on the board, I mean, I definitely don't. I don't even think we would need to pick Ferkser with our next pick, but Tannehill, if he's still on the board, I think that's a smash spot for him. Even though I talked about how Tannehill might have a bit more of a down season. At this point in the draft, you're talking about a guy that still has the top 10 upside. He was QB7 last year in points per game. If that offense, doesn't take that big of a step down, which I do think is possible, I think Tannehill has taken a step forward into his career that he might just be able to elevate the play of others around him. And we never saw Corey Davis be anything until this year when Tannehill was playing out of his mind and A.J. Brown was on the opposite side of him. So who's to say he doesn't turn Josh Reynolds into like a 900, 1,000-yard receiver? Or they bring in someone. They could always add, Julio Jones in a trade right before the season, and then all of a sudden Tannehill's value just goes absolutely through the roof at that point.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And and of course, as soon as we start talking about players, people just love taking them.
Yeah, and actually Ekeler was a guy that I had my eye on as well. I thought we might be able to get him, a bit later in the draft. He went earlier than I expected.
Yeah, man, this is crazy. People don't like us doing stacks, eh?
No, I guess not. We're not going to have a lot of stacks in these.
Oh, man. Makes me sick.
I mean, what do you think of the 2 rookie quarterbacks? Because we're looking for upside at this point.
Yeah, just looking at it. The one that really catches my eye, again, like we can get Zach Wilson as a QB3 later, so I'm fine with that. Is there any Jags? off the board.
See, there goes Trevor Lawrence off the board now too.
The problem I have is like we don't know if Justin Fields is going to start first of all for the majority of the season. We also can't really stack him with anybody at this late range to make it
Am I crazy
worthwhile.
to say that Ryan Fitzpatrick's the best option on the board right now?
Yeah, we could get Diami later on too.
I honestly think of the guys on the board right now, I feel most confident in Ryan Fitzpatrick finishing as a QB1 than I do about any of the other guys. And I think Baker has a good shot to do it. I think Wentz could have a decent shot to do it, but I think Fitzpatrick has the best shot of the guys available right now.
I like it. Yeah, we could just wait on him too, and that's blessed.
Yeah. Do we want to go with another, position player here,
or? Look at the receivers again, real quick. Like I don't mind if you want to go Bateman or Ruggs or something like that too.
Bateman. I mean, as much as people know I love Ruggs, I think Bateman actually has more upside than Ruggs does. The offense that he's in is definitely going to score a lot of points. I like the Rashad Bateman pick here. I think after that too, we're probably okay at receiver until the last couple rounds of the draft.
There's one more name that I have once we do this. If Elijah Moore makes it back on the turn and then we're able to get Zach Wilson the next round, that's something I would like. That would be,
that's a lot to invest in the Jets offense, but at the same time, another big part of this, as much as we want to invest in good offenses, if you can predict some sleeper offenses that become good offenses, that's how you're really going to get an edge, because nobody's going to be on the Jets stack, right? It's the Jets offense. They have a rookie quarterback. Nobody's going to be expecting them to be good, but if they turn into a situation where they're like the Chargers from last year, then you could be really, cashing out on a guy that, with Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, and Zach Wilson, people be like, it's a fine stack, I guess, but that doesn't have a lot of upside in a best ball mania format. So we are just completely fading quarterback right now. At this point, we're going to have to stack quarterbacks with our next couple picks, I'd have to imagine.
Oh, definitely.
I'm okay going Fitzpatrick or Mayfield here if you're cool with that.
Yeah, let's go Mayfield because we do have Chubb. Then again, if you look at it, we could get later on.
We might be able to get Fitzpatrick with our next pick. I don't think we will be able to, but I think he has a better chance of falling than Baker does.
Yeah, definitely.
So Rondell goes off the board, and then it was a Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
On the hype of the Jamal Williams is an RB1 news. Yeah, see, again, at this point in the draft, to me, there's honestly not even really that much of a purpose to look at running backs. Because
we don't need to. We don't have
one. We don't need to because we have 4 guys that are absolutely locked into volume for their teams. I mean, maybe there's some questions about Harris's volume, but the other guys for sure are locked into volume. At this point in the draft, J.D. McKissic is really the only guy that I see that is locked into a role for his team. I could definitely see a situation where, Alex Madison isn't very involved at all. Devin Singletary not very involved at all. They could even have Matt Breida take over his role in that offense. I just think it's almost a waste of a pick at this point. When you're getting, solid quarterback options still on the board, why would you pick a running back like that over one of these quarterbacks or one of these tight ends that have pretty good value as well still? And some of these receivers have some great upside as well.
Oh, man, if we're able to get Elijah Moore and Zach Wilson on the next turn, I might just lose my stuff.
Yeah, that would be a nice pickup for sure. I think I'm just praying that Ryan Fitzpatrick gets on the board. So Kirk Cousins is off the board. I hope that doesn't start a quarterback run because that would be very unfortunate.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at some of these other teams and see how they're building. This guy's team is freaking phenomenal, man. Holy crap. Look at this. Christian McCaffrey, Antonio Gibson, DeAndre Swift, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson. Wow, this guy's really going hard. Okay, maybe he's not a phenomenal team, but if he just went Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, he probably could have stopped there. And then kind of fell apart after. Then he took Matt Ryan also. I don't know what this guy's doing. Never mind. His first 5 picks were great in terms of high-end scoring potential. And another thing I'd like to encourage you guys to do in this best ball format, I know we didn't do this in this draft because, it's kind of the way the board fell, but picking quarterbacks early isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world in this format because anybody with a very, very high weekly ceiling is usually going higher in the draft than not. And guys like Josh Allen and Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray, well, they might have some consistency issues, especially Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. They're going to have 30, 40-point weeks that are going to, be the QB1 on the week or whatever. And that's what you want in a best ball format.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. I'm praying we can get the Moore and Wilson stack because we need at least one stack. We don't have a real stack right now.
Well, we have Corey Davis already. So we have a Wilson stack even without Elijah Moore, and Ruggs goes off the board. I have a feeling Elijah Moore is going to go off in the next couple picks here.
Oh, I'm praying right now.
Fitzpatrick's still on the board to me, and to me, he's the obvious pick if we get to our pick, and he's still there.
I couldn't pass on Elijah Moore if he's there.
I think he's a tier break at quarterback, man. I think we'd have to pick Fitzpatrick.
I don't know though, man, because we do need a stack. It's a freaking.
Well, we could still get 150,000.
Maybe, yeah, but I don't know.
Johnny was a guy I was hoping would fall also too. Tua's off the board. I really hope we're going to see a run of quarterbacks right before us. I have a feeling.
Yeah,
which makes me a little nervous, knowing that Fitzpatrick and Wilson are probably our two targets right now, and they could both go here. Okay, so Daniel Jones just went, which is kind of scary. Deshaun Watson is still on the board.
Might have to take him too.
Dude, honestly, we might have to. I think we should just take him.
Yeah.
Well, let's say so. Okay, so here's how this tournament works, right? I believe it's the first 12 weeks of the season is within your own 12-team league or whatever, and then after that, you're going against other people in other leagues. So if Deshaun Watson's back by that point, for a team or for the Texans, he's going to be on the field.
I would say we could go Elijah here and then get him on the way back because he's lower down.
I don't want to risk it, honestly.
All right,
I think we should just take Watson.
All right, bet.
Yeah, because if Watson comes back, let's say week 9, he's served his suspension or whatever the case is. Maybe he's only suspended 4 to 6 games or something like that. At that point, we just stole this dude in the what round is this? The 13th round for a guy that has legitimate QB1 potential. Even in that Texans situation, I think Watson could finish as the QB1 because he's just that damn good.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Now, do you want to go more here with our next pick?
Let's go Elijah and pray that we somehow get the luck of Zach Wilson falling back. Oh my.
Literally sniped. Okay, do we want to secure the Zach Wilson, Corey Davis stack, though?
Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. That is just – and then maybe if we get Mims on the way back, like I don't even know at this point.
We're just hurts. Stacking the Jets offense, apparently.
Bro, are we going to get Chris Herndon late? Like what's going on?
One thing I'd like to mention is where are –
Crowder.
So Brandon Cooks is off the board, but is Randall Cobb low-key like a sneaky stack with Watson if he's back, or Nico Collins if he's still here?
Yeah, I don't mind it.
I think Nico's off the board.
Really?
Oh, no, he's there. He's there.
I was about to say.
We can take Nico late and go for that sneaky stack. That could be – I mean, again, you got to take risks in these best ball manias, right? We're taking some risks here. We took a rookie quarterback. We took a QB that might not play this year. Like, you got to take some risks with these. Don't be reckless. Like, I would say we're borderline being reckless right now, but at the same time, you can't expect to win a contest like this without taking risk, without reaching a little bit, without taking your guys, because you're never going to win a contest with Cole Beasley in this format.
Yeah, or like even Hunter Henry. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, looking at it, even like I know it's gross, but like we could get Herndon late and like at least that's some type of stack.
That's too many Jets. I think we got enough Jets on this team right now. We got Corey Davis and Zach Wilson. I don't know if I want to invest that much in the offense because
I mean we just lost our 2 receivers back to back anyway, so we should be chilling.
Crowder and Mims just went. Gronk with the guy I was looking at.
To be fair, if Herndon's like a 17th round pick, like around then,
yeah.
But like, yeah,
I'm praying that Cole Kmet falls to us, man. I don't think
that'd be nice. Yeah, there's a clear tier break at tight end after.
We could stack Hooper.
Austin Hooper. Ooh, yeah. I actually like that. Actually,
that's not bad.
I actually really like that.
See, this really scares me because these two guys are to me a pretty big tier break. I like OJ Howard as our 3rd tight end or Dawson Knox as our 3rd tight end if we're able to get them, like later in the draft. But I don't want to pick them here yet.
I'm assuming Blake Jarwin's off the board as well.
Yeah,
most likely.
So. This guy is interesting. Kylan Granson. Apparently, he is just being talked up like crazy by the Indianapolis Colts, similar to the way that we heard them talk about Michael Pittman last year. And I mean, Kylan Granson, who's he competing for targets with in that tight end room? Is Mo Alley Cox and Doyle still there?
Mo Alley Cox and Doyle, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, those guys are fine veterans, but if Kylan Granson has this much trust from Frank Reich and the coaching staff, they might find a way to get this guy on the field. And I could see him being the obscure tight end that comes out of nowhere like Logan Thomas.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that as well. Yeah, looking at the board
See,
here.
Darnold at the 15-5 is, if this is like an area of the draft where Darnold's going to go every time in these best ball mania type drafts, I will take him as my QB3 every single time, because I think the upside that Darnold has is warranted with this kind of pick, because he could legitimately finish as a top 12 quarterback and pull a Ryan Tannehill and be like comeback player of the year this year.
Oh, definitely. That's in the range of outcomes for sure.
Yeah. Elijah Mitchell's kind of interesting later in the draft too, if we can get
we can get
gauge on him.
I say honestly, just lock down Hooper, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm looking at the rest of the board here. Okay, so we got Hooper just went right before us. Cole Kmet to me is not a bad consolation prize. I think that's fine.
What is this?
I know our stacks are getting absolutely siphoned right before we're about to pick them.
This is unreal. Uncharted territory.
Yeah.
All right, check receiver.
I mean, we are quite deep at receiver, I would say, right now. So at this point in the draft, we're probably looking for a big-time upside shot.
Yeah, and like running back's not really doing much for me.
Yeah.
Could go with Nico later.
I think Nico is should be our last pick, like our very last pick of the draft.
Yeah,
Low-key, because with Watson coming back at some point, I think Nico has some legitimate potential if Watson's the quarterback. Even the back half of the season. Okay, so we're on the clock right now. Who do you like? Do you like? I don't want to take another receiver though. That's the only thing.
Is Curran started in the top tight end? Seriously,
I like Howard over him straight up, to be honest.
Yeah, but
because
fuck. I do like it because we have the stack though. And fuck.
I'll do it. Fine.
Fuck it. Go Jets.
We went Chris Herndon. We're a Jets. We're officially a Jets podcast. That's what we talk about, the New York Jets, because they're our favorite team.
God, it felt gross, but it does feel nice that we actually have a stack. So
yeah, it definitely feels good. I mean, we already had one, dude. We have Corey Davis and Zach Wilson,
but now we got a 3-man.
Yeah, we got a 3-man stack of Jets players. Great. Just so everything I said, probably somebody's going to comment this down below, but if you made it to this point in the video, comment that we're hypocrites, because I literally said earlier in the draft that you don't want to be drafting players from bad offenses, and the Jets probably don't qualify as a good offense. But again, I did say later on that if you could predict some sleeper offenses, then you could probably get away with it. But yeah, I think we need to find some running back depth, like maybe one or two guys that can
pass catchers.
At the same time, it's hard to even get these guys into the lineup, right? Because you only start 2 running backs on the week, and you obviously have a flex spot. But between the 4 guys we have, I expect a 20-point week more often than not out of 2 of these 4 guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at this point in the draft, it almost seems like a waste to go after anybody, because how many 20-point weeks are James White and Tariq Cohen going to have this year? Like 2, maybe?
Probably, yeah. Max.
They're going to have to score 2 touchdowns and catch 7 balls for that to happen. And none of these other guys to me are just like Elijah Mitchell's the only one I can see legitimately having some type of ceiling, because we're hearing already that Mitchell's the type of guy that they're looking for to fill the Matt Breida role in their offense, to be the pass catching back. So he's a guy I'm going to put in the queue, because I think he's the only running back worth a damn in this entire draft. Maybe Garrett Dokes later at the at maybe one of our last picks as well. How many more rounds do we have?
It goes to 18.
It goes to 18 rounds, so we only have 2 more picks.
All right, we got to make them count.
So I say we go with one of these 2 running backs and Nico Collins. That would be what
I'm down.
would say we should probably do, because, I mean, at the wide receiver position, I mean, ARSB is still on the board. I think we should pick him over Collins if we have a chance, though.
I think he'll be gone by then, but yeah, if he's on the board, I'm fine with it for sure.
Yeah, even though it's like a stack with Collins, I think the target potential is definitely in the favor of ARSB. Is Collins off the board? Oh, there he is. Deshaun Jackson. That's such a classic best ball pick.
Hey, bro, I wouldn't take him in season long, but in best ball.
Yeah, that's the most Deshaun Jackson analysis that you're going to hear from us.
Dude, like Mecole Hardman is just the new Deshaun Jackson.
No, he is legitimately. It's round.
Yeah, literally though.
And hopefully Ruggs is not that, but he might become that later in his career. So.
Literally though. And people are going to try to classify Jalen Waddle as that, and he didn't even play a snap yet in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm interested to see some of these speed receivers, because I've noticed, in the past couple of years, a lot of these speed receivers coming out of college, none of them have made like, the true impact that some of these people had thought they were going to make, including myself. I thought Ruggs was going to make a bigger impact his rookie year. I want to see one of these guys break through, whether it's Waddle, whether it's Ruggs, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's Hardman. I want to see one of these guys break through and become a consistent fantasy option, just so we don't have the same narratives every draft season. It's like, oh, he's just a speed guy, like every single time.
Every goddamn time.
Yeah. Hopefully it's Ruggs that does it, because I think Ruggs is the most talented of the guys I just named.
Waddle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Waddle too, the way he could be used could actually be, I don't think he would break any narratives though, because he's so unique that it would be hard for him to actually have an impact. And there goes ARSB. It would be hard for him to actually have an impact on the landscape of speed receivers in the draft, because Waddle is just such a unicorn that if we have another speed receiver coming out of school, I highly doubt that he's going to have the speed agility combination that Jalen Waddle has.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Waddle just moves differently. And I talked about it in the draft guide, but you don't see players like that with the lateral ability, with the vertical ability, with his ability after the catch. I mean, he is just so special, so unique. And that's why, evidently, the Dolphins ended up trading an extra 2022 first to move up from Devonta Smith to get Jalen Waddle. So that's pretty crazy when you think about it. But yeah, that just goes to show you how valued he was on their board. And I actually saw a leak of the Jacksonville board.
Right. Yeah, they had him like 2 or something.
They had him with the same grade as Trevor Lawrence,
which is insane.
An 8.0.
Yeah, I say we go with one of these running backs first, just because I have a feeling they're going to get sniped if we don't.
Give me
I have more conviction on Mitchell having a higher upside than any of these guys. To me, I would go Elijah Mitchell.
That's fair. I'll also see to Mitchell,
because like with Dokes, I find it hard to believe that he's going to beat out Myles Gaskin at any point, because I went back and watched some of Dokes, and I wasn't all that impressed. I didn't think he had the most quick feet or anything like that. He just kind of looked like a plotter to me. So I have more faith that Mitchell, who I did like his tape, has a better chance to beat out Sermon, or even just establish himself as a 1B in that type of offense. And if he's a 1B, he should have some decent weeks for San Francisco, who we know on a weekly basis can really do anything with their running backs.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys notice me yawning, I haven't had my cup of coffee in the morning because this draft literally just queued up as I was making it. So a little quick shout out. But Nico Collins on the way back now that Amonra's gone, and we got a little mini stack if Deshaun plays. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. So Nico Collins would be our 8th receiver as well. I think, again, like I said, it's almost pointless to draft a guy like Garrett Dokes at this point where we have our running backs. We have one upside shot. The rest of our team is not going to have very much opportunity for Garrett Dokes to even get on our score sheet, right? Because how many weeks this year is Garrett Dokes going to outscore 2 of these 4 guys that we have at the top? Probably
it's not
the only way that would happen is if he outright won the job over Myles Gaskin, or Myles Gaskin got hurt or something like that.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And as we said, like just relying on someone getting hurt is not how you succeed in these formats. So I fully agree. And not to mention, we're talking about a guy in Nico Collins. While he's a little bit raw, we've seen raw receivers with the size and speed and vertical ability on the outside really perform as rookies in the past. I mean, did anybody think Chase Claypool was going to become who he became? Did anybody even see 2 years ago there was another one?
DJ Chark did it too.
DJ Chark, yeah,
but he came
second
out
year, but still
and did it.
Very raw. And it just goes to show you, and not to mention, if Deshaun Watson's on the field, I am much more confident in Nico Collins performing, because Deshaun Watson is that type of quarterback to get the best out of his receivers.
And
if he's
with Nico Collins too, it could be gross, right? It could be like if Deshaun Watson's not on the field, Davis Mills or Tyrod Taylor starting, it could be gross, but we all know Brandon Cooks is very injury prone. And if Nico Collins is the only guy to throw to there at some point, he'll probably have some value.
Yeah. And I mean, not to mention, you're talking about this type of format, bestball mania format, where there's 155,000 people in the contest. You got to target stacks that nobody's really even targeting at this point.
Nico Collins, everybody wants, even like the one we tried to get, Chris Godwin and Tom Brady. Like we're not really thinking outside of the box with that one. Everyone probably knows that's a good stack. Same with Stafford and any of the Rams players. A stack like we have with the Jets and the Texans, I don't think anybody's going to be targeting that. And again, we didn't outwardly target these guys. We kind of just did it as the draft went along, and we got all these guys at value, I would say. So it's not like we reached for them or anything. But I really like the makeup of our team, especially at running back. When when you have those type of ceiling guys that we have, I think you can really start to carry your team. And between we have a couple, floor guys, I would say, and at wide receiver like Godwin and Antonio Brown, I would say are more floor receivers than they are ceiling receivers. But Kenny Golladay and Chase Claypool, I legitimately could see either of them being top 10 wide receivers in redraft this year.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. So anyways, with that being said, we have one pick left on the clock before we can wrap this up. So
right.
Perfect.
So if you guys did enjoy this, as we said at the beginning of the video, go check out Underdog, everything that they're doing. They don't just have best ball drafts. If you don't want to do best ball drafts, you can also do pick'ems once the season starts. They have over-under. They have it all live right now for the NBA. If you're an NBA fan, you can do a bunch of NBA contests until, the NFL kicks off if you don't want to be doing best ball drafts. And as of a couple of days ago, I believe they announced that any minimum deposit, $10 minimum deposit, you will get basically a free entry to this contest that we just did. $25 they'll add on to your deposit, which is a free entry to the Best Ball Mania tournament. And like I said, use promo code FSE. The link is in the description. You can check out more information on our website. Anything you got to add, Danny, before we get out of here?
I was just going to say it's quite literally a free shot at $1 million. But anyways, with that being said, if you made it this far, comment down below stack. I want to see everybody just commenting stack, 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 stack. That's what I want to see all the comments. Anyways, peace out, y'all.